welcome to Day One Patch Podcast, episode 319. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. We got Tim Spencer.
Where?
Right there. Wherever you
okay.
are. Somewhere on planet Earth, I hope. Is that correct?
He can't confirm it or not. He's an alien.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
inclined to answer that question.
Or maybe you're a Space Force Guardian.
I don't know what the hell that means.
I just told you before the podcast that the Space Force service members are now called Guardians.
It's crazy.
Oh, right.
Matt Lawrence
What's up?
and Adriano has gone and joined the Space Force.
Oh, cool.
He's going to become a guardian. From Destiny 2, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is just starting to sound like Destiny.
Yeah, he's Canadian, so that might be a cause for issue. Some of the top stories this week include mostly Cyberpunk. A lot happening with the whole Cyberpunk deal.
What a mess.
So we'll get into all that. There was also like I'm not sure if this was a leak or if this was like something that was made publicly available. But they had an investor call, and we have a bit of a transcript and some of their rationale and what they were talking about with the launch of Cyberpunk. Also, Sony removed Cyberpunk from the PlayStation Store, so you can't even go and buy it digitally anymore. And they're also offering refunds. Xbox is also now offering refunds. And then we have an update. It's been a while since we heard anything about the Apple versus Epic Games battle. So we have some updates on that with Tim Cook himself and Craig Federighi being called in to testify. And then finally, just an update on the Game Awards and how they're performing year over year. So that'll be interesting. Let's start off with what's new. Tim Spence, what's new with you?
On stream yesterday, we started up playing Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Is that why you sent us that video?
It is, yeah.
It's in your mind?
It's in my mind, yeah. Well, Yakuza is always top of mind, but particularly recently, I didn't intend on starting it up, but we were just kind of killing time, and I was like, you know what? Let's see where this goes. And yeah, I had heard already that it was like a weird one. Like those games are already weird, but it's like more weird. And like, because normally the divide is that the main story is very dramatic, and the side stories are where the ridiculousness happens. But this one seems to have had the ridiculousness leak into the main story as well. It's just super weird. It's kind of following the same story as Yakuza Kiwami, where the main protagonist is like taking the fall for murder they didn't commit and going to jail for a long time. So whereas in 1, Kiryu only went to jail for 10 years, in 7, or Like a Dragon, Ichiban went to jail for 18 years. So like he literally has that moment of coming out of jail and being like, wait, why does everybody have these like smartphones? How do I use a smartphone? And he's like, basically it's like Boomer Simulator for the first chapter of the game. But then, yeah, we got to like the first part of the game where it kind of opens up more, and I'm really interested to see where it goes. So we're going to finish that up on, or I guess continue that on Monday.
I was going to say, how the hell are you already done? Or almost
No,
done?
yeah. Those games are long games.
So I shouldn't start them now, is what you're saying.
I mean, the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. Second best time is today, right? if you're gonna
That's
do
a good
it,
way of putting it, yeah.
do it now.
Which one would you play, Ryan?
I think 0, right?
Yeah, if you're gonna play any of them, I would recommend 0, both because it's a good starting point and it's just probably one of the best standalone games.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Otherwise, I don't really mind jumping into the latest one. You know, I don't have that rule like Adriano has, where he wants to play all the previous releases.
Well, I mean, he would want to play it canonically, or like not canonically,
Release
chronologically, right?
Yeah.
So he would start with 0.
Well, I don't know if he's wants the story chronologically or the actual game release dates.
That would make less sense to do it that way.
But I mean, he's not here to speak for it, but I think he might want to. That might be the case, right? Any insight there, Matt?
I'm trying to think, actually. I don't know. I'm leaning more toward release order, though. I feel as though he would want to play 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go back to 0.
Yeah. Because like the Assassin's Creed, he's not playing in order. He's playing in release order.
Well, because I was going to say something in terms of the... like when you said you want to start with 0, 0 is like probably the best standalone game, as Tim said. But I wonder whether you're going to have trouble getting into it.
But isn't 0 fairly modern? Isn't that like a remake or not a remake, but a new release at least?
So you're not going to have trouble getting into 0. I think you're going to have trouble getting into the series maybe, because you would play the first one, then you'd probably play Kiwami, then you'd probably play Kiwami 2, and then the other ones are just remasters. Like 3 and 4 and 5 are just remasters.
So they're just ports. I would say that the Kiwami ones are actual remasters.
Yeah, so it's like you're gonna have a problem. Like you're gonna get older mechanics as you go on, which is probably why Adriano would go the other way. Go like I don't know whether he would do Kiwami or just do 1 or whatever. I don't know about that because like whatever. But I think he would prefer to have the mechanics upgrade over time. I would assume. I don't know.
If that's the case, I think I would just go with the latest release then for myself.
I mean, it is like another starting point of the series, so that does make sense.
Is that on Game Pass?
Or yes.
No? Yeah, it's coming to Game Pass.
I believe all of them.
Yeah, the
Yakuza 0 is apparently on Game Pass.
First ones might already be there, yeah.
Yakuza Kiwami 2 for Windows 10, also on Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you care about the whole story though, like, or do you just want to like get your feet?
I don't care about it absorbing it all, but I mean, it's becoming a more and more popular game, so it's gaining my interest, right?
Because like you might be best off doing 0, skipping the rest of them, and then going right to the latest one. Then
I could install it right now. Look at this.
Your network bandwidth, according to Zoom, is already low.
Yeah. Tim, were you done? Was all you were doing?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I already said before that I had finished Red Dead.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where we got. I mean, I also started to play Hades as well.
Oh, that's right. I did want to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's been good. It's a really, like, I'm a big fan of Supergiant's games. I played Bastion way back in the day, and I did just replay it not that long ago. And it's just, more of the same quality stuff from Supergiant with their storytelling and their roguelike. And I guess Bastion wasn't a roguelike before, but Hades obviously is. And it's kind of, I think, intended that you're supposed to play, many, many, many runs before you actually finally finish it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Was there like a particular question about it you had, or?
No, just your general impressions. But how far did you make it?
Not that far. I got to the end of the second area, and then I got kind of a couple of encounters into the third area, Elysium.
Right.
And then I kind of got to that point where I was like, I felt like I'd had my fill for that day. Like, it felt like every run was getting worse and worse. So, but yeah, I have to get back to it and grind out a couple of more runs because it's a lot of fun.
One thing that amazes me about it is that now I don't know how many times you can run this over, like obviously as many times as you want, but I'm just saying with the amount of dialogue that the characters have, seems it really makes it feel like you're not just doing the same thing over and over again. It feels like the actual
it's to a point
story's progression to a degree, and I think it's really well done.
Yeah, the story progresses based on like it's not like reaching a certain point necessarily. It's just having conversations with characters a certain number of times then unlocks another like major story beat.
Right.
Which is a really good way to do it. It's very cool. And the art, music, everything, it's all fantastic.
And I've been gifting people, what is it? Is it ambrosia? Is
the nectar, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if there's an end to that, though. Can you just endlessly give people that?
I don't know. I kind of just assumed there'd be like, you can only gift it to a person like 10 times or whatever. Because like for the majority of characters, you can, you give them one and they give you something.
I think the
And
one guy
then-
tells you, the little skeleton man, I think he tells you like it's no use giving them more after they give you like an item.
Well, he
the
says
first
like,
time.
yeah, he
Something
says
like
like, oh, there's no. He's like, you know, you don't need to give it to somebody if they've already like given you what they got. But then he's like, I mean, but you know, what do I know? I'm just a skeleton or something like that.
But he seems to know more than anyone else.
He's definitely like the metagaming character who just like breaks the fourth wall all the time.
I've been giving a ton to that the first boss. I can't remember her name.
Oh, Megara?
Yeah, that's right. I've been giving her a ton, trying to get her on my good side, but I don't think it's working.
I gave her one, but I've been giving the most of them to Karin, the boatman,
Mhm.
just because I want to see like where his story goes if he ever actually talks to you.
Right. All right, Matt, what's new with you?
So the Fallout 76 season has started. And I was actually going to mention something to you, Ryan. So I think I was talking to Marty about this after he went to bed the other day. So I do, for the people that know what Fallout 76 or know about Fallout 76 builds, I'm doing a bloodied build. And so I have almost all, I believe it's unyielding equipment, which adds 3 to all your specials when you're on low, or up to 3 to all your specials when you're low on health, but not endurance. It doesn't add 3 to endurance. And so I have every piece as unyielding, 1 piece I'm still farming for. And I was going to let you know, Ryan, that the amount of XP I'm getting is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I believe I'm almost level 20 in the season, and I didn't even play yesterday.
That's because of your build?
Yeah, because, like, I'm literally just doing casual things, not doing very high-level things. Like, I'll just go and... I mean, I guess it's high-level, but it's not, like, doing a nuke or anything. Mm-hmm. It'll be like, I'll just go to the White Spring and clear out the ghouls, because... You know, something's there. Well, they have a fair amount of XP, but it's also because they give, I find 2 or 3 legendaries there usually. Mm-hmm. And then I'll just, like, go and clear out whatever, and then I'll go and do some events and stuff like that. And, like, some of the events, like, I did Mad Dog Malone. I do Mad Dog Malone probably 2-3 times a night because it's super fast, and I get a bunch of metal from it, a bunch of steel. And I got over 3,000 XP for completing the event. That's not including all the XP I get for killing the people, like killing the super mutants. So, like, I'm ripping. Like, I understand it's early, but I think I'm level 14 or 15 in the season. Didn't do one of the like, I didn't do yesterday's dailies, and I haven't done mine today yet. But I'm gonna be like 20% through the season in, like, I don't know, 4 days. So I don't know whether you want to, like, try something like a bloodied build because it has a lot of maintenance. But, like, I think you might be interested in raising your intelligence, because, like, raising your intelligence statistic really freaking helps. Like, I think I have something like 20 plus intelligence. Oh, because wow. I have the regular intelligence that I've applied myself. I think a couple of pieces of my armor as, like, their third effect or whatever gives me +1 intelligence, but then I'm also getting the +3 per piece. Mm-hmm. And I'm, like, absolutely ripping through stuff. So, like, yeah, like, it's not a perfect build. I've taken someone else's build and modified it to me. There's still some problems with it. I still have a bit of trouble, and I'm still trying to find what weapon I liked best. Seems to be heavy guns right now, and so I'm trying to determine which heavy gun I want to use. But
it'd be nice to know what that guy was using who was kicking our ass the other day.
Well, he was spec'd for PvP. Like, he was coming after people.
But wouldn't that still benefit for normal PvE?
No, like, he probably had
doing
equipment
that much damage to us, though. I mean,
well, he probably has the armor that does +10% damage to players, and he probably has a full set. So then that means he has, you know, plus God knows how much, because I don't know whether weapons can have that effect or anything. I've never looked into PvP builds, but he, like, you know, he might be doing double damage, like +100% when it's all said and done with his build and everything. He might be doing +100% damage to us, because I hit him with my best weapon. I have, like, a really good LMG that I use, but it requires, like, ultrasight ammo. So I only use it sparingly because 50 cal bullets are a lot cheaper to make. And so I just use my 50 cal for sort of like my general weapon. If I'm going to a low level area, I use a melee weapon, but then I got this really good bloodied LMG that's ultrasight and everything. It's all, like, tricked out. And when I shot him with that, like, he almost died in 3 or 4 shots. But he was also, like, really good at moving around in a PvP way. Like, he was dodging us. He knew the positioning. And, like, we just don't play that. Like, we play PvE.
We fired at him from 2 sides, and he still killed us.
Oh, yeah, because he just knows how to dodge, and he knows,
he cut us down. He cut me down in, like, 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's... Yeah. So that and he was coming after us too. Like I left like because he took my workshop, and so I tried to fight him. Whatever, I left, and then we went and took some random other workshop that was really far away. And the instant he saw that it was taken, he went and attacked it. But then Marty was saying that he took one earlier, like before we had jumped on, and that same guy had come after him too. So that guy was 100% PvP. Like he's just PvP build.
Yeah.
So
and
like,
he was probably going after people who were taking workshops for the weekly challenge.
Yeah, every single workshop that I saw that was taken by him, and more than likely it was like somebody taking a workshop, like you're saying, for the weekly, and then he just shows up and takes it. Now, I mean, the person still gets it, so it's not like he's stealing their challenge, but he's definitely looking for a fight for what I would assume is a PvP build.
Yeah.
But in any case, Ryan, I would recommend you look into some of the end game builds because, like, I'm doing stuff like, okay, so my original build was not my original build, but like the first time I looked up builds and decided to like try something new, I tried melee. So in 76, I'm trying to play differently than I would a Fallout PvE game like Fallout 4. Fallout 4, I'm always like quick, agile. I'll have like, either, up to an assault rifle is the biggest I'll have. And I usually have like SMGs and stuff. So like I'm just sort of like generic soldier class because I find that to be the most versatile and I can do a lot with it and have enough special for charisma and stuff like that for like convincing people to do stuff and whatever. So in this game, I want to try to do new things. So I had a melee build, and the melee build was fine. It worked. But if we went to like an exceptionally dangerous area, I would always die 3 or 4 times. Now, I'm a bloodied build, so I absolutely die. Especially if I get caught off guard. I will absolutely go down. But the point of the matter is I show up, even with my lower end weapons. And I mean, like, I fucking rip through their health. Like, I have a weapon that kills them so fast that when they go down to 0 health, their health regenerates on my screen for a second, and then they drop dead. Because the server can't sync it in time, I think. So, like, it's a totally different thing. And that's not me gloating either. Like, I think that's how, like, just endgame builds are. And like I said, mine is furthest from perfect. And mine is mostly taken from other people and learning from Angry Turtle on YouTube and stuff like that. So, like, there's definitely... My build is not perfect by any means, especially since I have... I only have one character, so I have some other stuff in there for, like, building ammo and stuff like that, so I'm not, like, at max potential. But, like, I didn't realize how different it was going from sort of, like, generic build of, like, hey, I have a good melee build. I can, like, survive quite a bit of hits, and I can, swing these melee weapons around and do a lot of damage, versus, like, being able to go in and literally melt people. It's a totally different experience. And it's a lot of fun, honestly. Like, the other day I just like went to the general steakhouse, I think it is. Went to the general steakhouse, cleared that out. Went to the abandoned bog town, cleared that out. Went to Robco, cleared that out, all within like 4 minutes. Like it's a totally different game. Yes, it has a lot of maintenance. Yeah, I got to launch nukes sometimes to get materials.
Well, that's the end game, though. That's what you're supposed to be doing, right?
That's exactly it. And like I have ways around it. Like I was only using that really good weapon, but then I was like, I can probably, especially when it's just like level 50 scorched or whatever. Or even just if it's scorched, I can just use lower end weapons, and that's what I'm doing. Like not even bloodied and stuff like that. So like yes, like and for the first time, I mean, admittedly because I wasn't making ammo in a melee build, of course. But for the first time in a while, like I'm actually running out of supplies, and I'm actually like needing to farm, and I need workshops and stuff like that. So the game's like just a lot different. Because I need to do that maintenance, I am leveling up like crazy. Like I accidentally leveled up twice the one night. Like before it was like I would grind to level up and then try to grind a little bit so that the next day for the daily, which is like gain a level, I would intentionally not need to do the full bar of XP. Now I'm just like ripping through the level, and I'm getting probably 6 or 9, depending on how long our play sessions are, of that repeatable done a night. Because I'm getting over 200 XP per kill even from lower end enemies. And then I'm getting like 3,000 from just Mad Dog Malone. Like just doing that event. So I would just recommend, like, it is, the game doesn't feel like it will get much. The game doesn't feel like it would get much different from like a sort of a quote unquote end game high maintenance build, but I might not go back. I might not be bloodied like in the future. I might do a different one, but I am definitely going to do these like higher end, like harder and more complex builds moving forward.
I don't think I want to do like the radiation thing though.
I didn't want to either, but I thought, I was like, you know what? Like I'm seeing people melt people. And I saw Bethesda themselves upload a video where a guy had it, and I was like, you know what? Like, if they're doing it, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna try this. Like, worst case, I just go into my radiation arch and derad myself. Like, who cares,
Yeah.
And I'll just switch. Like, I took pictures and stuff like that, screenshots of my build.
But don't you get killed in like 2 seconds?
Not always, no. See, so that's the thing is there's like, there's 2 perks that help from how I understand it. It's been a while since I did the research, and then I pieced together someone else's build. So Nerd Rage helps you, but also Serendipity helps you. So Serendipity is a perk in which I think it's like a 40% chance at level 3. Don't quote me, of literally just not taking damage from an attack. So there's been times where I jump off of a massive cliff, and then I just hit the bottom. Serendipity kicks in, and I just walk away.
Okay.
Now it is a gamble, like especially when people like super mutants or whoever have like a minigun. There's so many hits flying at me that I will die. But like thinking about it, I was dying a lot as the melee build anyway. Like not a ridiculous amount, but I was dying. And I'm still getting used to the movement. Like me transitioning from, I was just sort of like generic soldier build till about level 70 or whatever, and then I became the melee build to try, like I said, my first sort of like research build. When I switched to that melee build, my movements were totally different. Like I got marsupial, I got like some other mutations, whatever. I think it was just marsupial actually, and like I went and I moved and played differently, and I'm still really kind of learning the movement now. Like I take cover more, or I try to get the high ground more, so I can like spray this, or I know where the weak points are in certain creatures now. Where like obviously it's usually their head, but like whatever, and then I actually aim for that rather than just sort of like spray and pray, or just like go up and punch them with the Deathclaw Gauntlet. So like I'm still sort of learning to play. So sometimes I will die in a stupid situation, or I'll die in a situation where I absolutely shouldn't have. But that's just because I'm still sort of in that learning curve. But I mean, like it's no skin off your back. Like if you have a bunch of level ups saved up, of which you probably do, like I can switch back to my melee build right now literally without moving any special points around. Like it's really
I'll
not
definitely
hard.
look into it then.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it, I'd say. Especially if you have unyielding armor, because that's like what, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 to every single one of your special points, minus the endurance, of course. That's an additional 15 toward them. That's not including your legendary effects and not including how much you've put into the specials yourself with your points. Like it is a different game. It's awesome, actually. So and especially with you have like a really good gun that you're ripping through things, and you're not spec'd for it. Like you're not spec'd for that gun to maximize the damage.
Yeah, but that didn't do anything to that guy.
Right, but again, that's probably just because he's PvP. But the thing is like, we're playing this game 99% of the time PvE. I think that what you should be doing is you should be looking at maybe like do what you want, but like what I would maybe do is try to make that gun. I forget, it's like I think it's a laser rifle or something. I don't know, laser rifle. Like you gotta remember, the more damage you do with that thing, the less ammo you use. And so that's gonna help you immensely. And then you're gonna be able to shrink down your stash size, like what you're carrying, because like what I'm doing now is like I know I need 50 cal bullets, 308s, and ultrasight 308s. Anything else is absolutely useless to me. I throw it in the garbage. Sometimes I bring and then like my secondary sort of ammo, like that I won't throw in the garbage fully, but I'll unload like 1,000 bullets, is for a vampire's gun I have, and that's because if I'm dying repeatedly, I have so little health that this one vampire's gun will keep me alive in a really big firefight. So if I get in trouble, so I only keep like 1,000 of those bullets on me ish at a time. So like I've shrunk down my stash by God knows how much, and I have 2-3 full sets of armor in there, because I've been experimenting with different armors and stuff as well during this procedure. And like I think I still have like, I don't know, let's say 200 free stash, not including the shop. Like my stash is almost full, but that's because I have like around 200 pounds of stuff for sale that I'm trying to get rid of, right? So that's why I'm keeping that. So yeah, like I would give it a go. And for anyone else listening to this that like plays 76, like absolutely I would, like the end game builds are absolutely game changing. Like they really make a difference, and I never do them in MMOs because I never like the complexity or like the immersion breaking, like having all those rads. But it's a game, because that's why I didn't like Bloodied for a while. But it is absolutely a game changer, and it's totally worth it.
So that kind of like transitions into what I was going to ask. It's like, what is it about this game that you still want to play it like 3 years after it's come out? Like, what is it about 76 that keeps you playing it? Like, I couldn't, play it for that long.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm curious as to if, like, in 20 words or less or whatever, what about 76 keeps you coming back?
I have a weird affinity, I suppose, for games that are simplistic at their core. So it took me a long time to sort of get back into single player games, and I've just kind of started doing that. And as I've already said in the show repeatedly, like I've beat a couple recently. Those games require a little more time investment, a little more brain investment because you're paying attention to a story. But like 76 is sort of like the perfect game of, it's like we all jump on, we're all hanging out in the game, we're all like chatting, whatever. We're checking out each other's camps. But then if everyone like leaves or if no one's online that night, it's simplistic enough that I don't need to really listen to it, short of me doing a few story quests or something. But I don't even need to be doing that, and I can just throw on a podcast and just like run around and do my build stuff. Like I think it might just be the fact that I've played it so much now that it's just like muscle memory, and so it's like that background game. It's sort of like Call of Duty. What Call of Duty used to be for us. Call of Duty was the game that we used to always just like jump on. It was like the de facto game, and I never really got into the fact that it had like perks and this and that, and I never got into like making different builds with my classes. I was there more or less for the simplicity and the social aspect, and I think it's the same with 76. So
I think that's 100% right, Matt. Is that it's if you, Marty, and Laura stopped playing it, I would not be playing this game. While I do enjoy it, yes, there's a bunch of complaints. We like to complain about it a lot, but it is just that game that we all play when we're all online.
Yeah, it's sort of like the de facto game.
And if Avengers became that game, we'd all be playing Avengers, but it didn't.
That's a good point too. Yeah, like I liked Avengers, but like you guys dropped off, then we stopped. And even with 76, like because the seasons keep us there, and then also push us away when they're done. So like we really like I played it maybe twice, just to fuck with my build when
same here, yeah.
When the season was
between
over.
seasons,
yeah. And like that's just the way it is. And like I don't if they got rid of seasons and like you guys also stopped playing it as a result, I don't know how long it would remain on my console. But it's definitely the simplicity and social aspect.
Yeah.
But just briefly jumping into, I also before the season started did Death Stranding. A lot of Death Stranding actually. So I've completely sort of blown away a bunch of the story from what I can tell. Because like you guys kept saying like, oh, you're not that far, you got a lot to go, and then now that I've like told you where I am, you guys are like, oh, you're pretty close. And even your boss in the game, a guy named Die Hardman, because he died hard once, that's not a joke. It's literally not a joke. He like was talking about preparing me, I'm trying to be like non-spoilery, talking about preparing me for the final like big finale. So whereas like it's a Kojima game, I'm sure there's a bunch left, I've finished an absolute crap ton, and I love it. It's really good. I'm
so surprised by that. I'm happy you like it though.
I think it's just I think it got me at the right time. Like if you got me in the COD season or something like that, not literally the COD season, but like if COD had just come out and I was like playing the new COD, because I usually do play the new CODs when they come out. If you had caught me then, or if you had caught me when like 76, like a 76 season just started up, it would be something that I would be able to kind of walk over and just be like, eh. Because we even played it on stream because you wanted to show it to me, and even then I was like, yeah, I don't know about this game. And like lately I'll be like exhausted and I'll want to go to bed. But then they're like, oh, you have to deliver this person or this parcel or whatever to this place. And I'll take a look on the map, and it'll be somewhere where I kind of want to check out, or it'll be somewhere where I'm like, that'd be a good place to end. And so it's like, okay, here we go. And I end up staying up to do it. I don't know. I really like it. It's super, super weird. And that also lends itself to it as well. Like
it's almost like watching a movie and wondering like where the hell it's going to go.
Yeah.
Like you just have like no idea.
Every single cutscene can be totally generic in comparison to the gameplay loop, or it could be absolutely bonkers. Like, very slight, I'm not going to say story spoilers. There was a meeting with Guillermo del Toro, which is named Deadman, and you just, for God knows whatever reason, and this is like super unexpected, you just like in the meeting, and the meeting continues, you just both jump in the shower together.
Oh yeah.
And I was like gonna go to bed at this point. I was like, wait, what's happening? And then they're both just like hopping in the shower, and I was like, isn't this a business meeting? It was, yeah, it's a little weird. So,
but there's a reason he does that.
I know I'm trying to be vague. But it's still not expected. Like, cause like that there's been meetings, so many meetings. I give a private room in the game, so many meetings in that private room, and and none of them are like that. So, yeah, it's a weird one, but I really enjoy it.
Those are the private meetings, but that was a meeting of the privates.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was pretty random. Caught me off guard, but like, game's great.
As for myself, still plugging away at AC Valhalla.
Damn.
Still loving it.
Are you beat it? Like, have you beat it now? And you're
No,
just
I'm within striking range though. Like, if not this weekend, definitely this like week.
How many missions in game do you think? Like, are you just doing side stuff and you're at the main mission? Like last.
No, the way I'm gauging it is basically like, as a Viking, you make a settlement in England, right? And then you start making all these alliances with the different kingdoms. And so there's only like a few kingdoms left for me to actually do, and each kingdom takes like maybe 45 minutes or so. You know.
Right.
So, most of the map has been explored, and there's only like maybe 6 to 10 viewpoints left.
Oh.
So, yeah. So I think I could probably finish it up pretty easily.
Now, you bought Cyberpunk for PlayStation 4, but you're playing it on your PlayStation 5, to be clear.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that you and Aaron, because Aaron bought it as well. From what I can tell as an outsider, not like I'm spying on your every movement, but from what I can tell, you guys haven't been going as ham on that as you have on other games. Like, I think I saw Aaron go more ham on Watch Dogs Legion, for example, than I've seen him go on 2077, like a Cyberpunk. So is it? I know we're going to talk about this in the show, but what's the status with that? Like, are you just trying to beat AC, or is Cyberpunk really not that good?
I can't juggle games. I can't play multiple things. You know, multiple story games. I should say.
Right.
So I'd like to complete one before I move on to the next. Now, I did just want to give Cyberpunk because it was like everything everyone was talking about, right? Maybe the news has kind of pushed me away from it too. All these reports of how buggy it is and whatnot. I don't know what Aaron. I think Aaron's been doing it quite a bit.
Oh, so he's still at it. Like, he's still playing.
Yeah, and he just got Valhalla as well, but he said that he thinks he wants to finish Cyberpunk before he moves on to another big game like AC.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. But I think at this point, I have so many games in my backlog right now, I might just push Cyberpunk off until those bug fixes come out, you know?
Yeah, I haven't even picked it up yet. I'm just waiting for the major fixes to be made.
I might even push it off until the next-gen version is released, whenever that might be, you know?
You know, I kind of agree with you. Like, I think I told you guys this before, or maybe even said it on the show, but Cyberpunk was supposed to be revolutionary, and I want to play it when it's revolutionary.
Yeah, I'm starting to hear people say now that like it's a really fantastic game if you can overlook the bugs and the weird quirks of the game. You know, so it sounds like there's a good game underneath it all.
Have you free roamed the city and stuff much?
No, I literally just got to the point where I can free roam the city. Okay,
because one of the things I like doing, and I've mentioned this before, is I like to hang around in the cities and towns in a game. I don't know what it is. I just like hanging around in the cities and towns in Skyrim and stuff. So we saw a tweet. I can't remember who it's from, But this guy was this guy or this guy or girl was talking about I can't remember what there was a big amount of text, and then the videos that they showed anyway, I can't remember what the text was saying, but they were saying, I'll paraphrase them basically, is that the systems behind the game are actually like bad. Like it's not like as if it's like there's glitches, but it's not like as if a lot of the systems are glitchy. They're just bad systems. So they showed a situation in which they run into not a crowd, but a few people on the street, and they shoot at the sidewalk. And the people, run and duck for cover, and they literally spin the character around 360 degrees or turn away and come back, and the people are gone because the game had to make them disappear so that it could run. They also showed he parked a car in the street, I think it was, or put some sort of obstacle in the street, and the drivers just don't know how to get around it. Like they just stay there and they don't honk. They don't really do anything. I think they may have honked, but they don't. It's not like GTA where they get pissed off and try to get around you and stuff.
Yeah.
They just sit there, and then he looked away and looked back, and then one of the cars had just disappeared.
Yeah, that's right.
And for me, I like just walking around and looking around in a city, probably because of photo mode, to be fair. But I like doing that, and that's not good. like that. If the city is that immersion breaking, then.
And who knows? Maybe that will be fixed at some point. I mean, it's hard to say if they could. Update that kind of stuff, or if that's fundamental to whatever engine they're building.
Well, the question too is it's did they have a normal traffic system where the people would get pissed off and honk and drive around and stuff like that, but the PS4 and the Xbox One couldn't handle it, so then they had to put in a more generic system. You know what I mean? I
also wonder how that works too, because as far as I know, they've only really done Witcher games in the most recent past, right? And that doesn't really have traffic, vehicle traffic. It has horse traffic and human traffic, but not necessarily cars driving with road laws, right?
That was why I kept asking you and Aaron if it was Witcher because I didn't think that they would be able to build a world as good as they were saying, even a GTA, because Rockstar has had all that years of experience.
I'm no game dev, but I'm is that something you could just import into the engine, or is that something you have to build from the ground up? Or
I would imagine you have to rebuild it. Yeah,
that's a good question though. There might be some generic tech that you can import, and then you get to
right.
You could retrofit it, change it up, whatever. I don't know, but
all right. Well, since we're talking about Cyberpunk, let's just hop into the stories here too. So obviously, a lot has happened with Cyberpunk over the last week. CD Projekt Red admits it did not spend enough time on Cyberpunk 2077 for the PS4 and Xbox One. This is from GameSpot. So this was during a conference call with investors, I believe, where CD Projekt Red was saying that they focused too heavily on next-gen, the next-gen consoles and PC, rather than the last-gen, older consoles. I guess it does work a little better on PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, from what I've heard.
Yeah, the game itself is just having trouble running, so any extra power you throw at it will help.
So this is a quote from the transcript from the call. It says, "It's more about us looking, as was previously stated, at the PC and next-gen performance rather than the current gen. We definitely did not spend enough time looking at that. Come January and February, you're going to see larger improvements, which we've stated already. We've also stated that if your expectation is that the game is going to be equal to, say, next-gen or PC in terms of performance, that definitely isn't going to happen. Having said that, I'm not saying it's going to be a bad game, but if your expectations regarding, say, visuals or other performance angle are like this, then we're openly stating that's not going to be the case."
This is sad. This whole damn situation is sad.
It almost feels like they shouldn't have made a last-gen version, but the problem is there's 150 million of those consoles out there, and how you turn that away is it would seem insane to make it a next gen only game.
But why did they okay, I don't know if this seems backwards to you. I thought it was backwards for them to release the old gen versions now with no other versions, like PC and then the old gen versions. Why, to me, I think that they should have just did PS5, Xbox Series, PC, and then they would have had all these patches and all this crap come in, right? And then they'll have the time to optimize, and then they bring it to the old gen consoles, because you're already on an old gen console, so therefore it's sort of implied that you would either not get new games, right, or because like there's going to be exclusives like bug snacks and stuff, or you can like sort of wait because you're on the old gen console. That's not to try to like say that like if you have a PS4 that and like you have a bad console, but the thing is it's like there's like sacrifices to be made there because of the lack of power. That's just the way it is.
The problem is though the PS5 and Series X versions aren't ready either.
That's what I don't understand. I don't know what the fuck they were
It would be
working on.
weird. It would be weird for them to release a PS4 game only on PS5. You know what I mean? That's strange.
Well, how did this happen with like a dev? Like this was what 7 years or something of development. Something I don't know. It was a long time.
It probably wasn't in active development that entire time. I think the concept stage probably lasted quite a bit, right?
But like okay, even then,
because they had teased it before The Witcher 3, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, even if it was shortly after The Witcher 3, they would have been working on the last gen versions. Like they wouldn't have known about Sony's exact PS5 plan or Xbox's Xbox Series plan.
You could build it for a PC and then like I guess maybe port it down to the next gen consoles.
Right, but it kind of seems like they built it for the PC and then it's almost like they rushed the console versions out and then they didn't use the most powerful consoles on the market. They used the least powerful. Like this is what I mean by it just seems backwards. Where they take this game that looks good on PC, yes it has bugs, but it looks good and I'm hearing some good things from people that are playing it and whatever, and then they take this version, let's just say, and then they port it, if that's what happened, over to the PS4. I just still feel as though that's backwards. Like, yes, your weakest link, right, in any software or whatever, the weakest piece of hardware is the one that's going to be the one that you shoot for, because you can always improve it on the faster hardware, or it'll just run naturally a little bit better on the old, right? So you're like kind of like on a leash of the lowest end, whatever.
Yeah.
But because they released it on the old stuff and not the new stuff, I don't know. To me, it just feels as though they rushed those not last gen console versions out. The next gen console versions are probably going to be massively delayed, if I had to guess.
Well, because they're probably going to work on bug fixes first now, right?
And that's exactly it. It's just sort of like what the hell happened here?
The mismanagement to like a very high degree, apparently.
I want to know whether there's people out there that are legitimately playing it on a PS4. Like, and I mean a PS4, whether it be a PS4 Slim or just a PS4 launch day version. Or launch
probably not very well.
But like, I want to know if there's people out there, because I was actually talking to somebody yesterday, and they said that this person's game, or it was one of their friends was playing it, and I don't know their name, and they said that Fallout 3 was their favorite game to now. He's playing it on a launch day PlayStation 4, and he said that Cyberpunk is slowly edging its way up to bump Fallout 3.
Wow.
Which is the weird thing, right? It's like, is this nitpicking that like say I don't think it is, but is this nitpicking and then the media is taking off with it, or is this like actual problems but they could be overlooked? Or is it...
Well, the fact that Sony is taking it off the store, I think, means that these are larger issues than just wild people going nuts with the stories.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Like, yeah, like I don't believe it's just that, but I mean, like, I'm just wondering to what degree, like, how bad is this thing?
Well, I still have my launch PS4 hooked up in my room. Maybe I'll download it and see what
Give
happens.
it a try.
Yeah,
just to see how bad it is.
This also brought into question how these games got certified by Microsoft and Sony, because obviously they have to get the version of the game and say, yep, it's good to go, right? So they got a question about that during this conference call. CD Projekt Red representative CEO Marcin Iwinski stated that he can only assume that Sony and Microsoft trusted that we're going to fix things upon release, and that obviously did not come together exactly as we had planned. Some industry figures have called this a subtle attempt to shift blame to the console manufacturers, noting that the certification process has nothing to do with quality. The game functions. Journalist and consultant Mike Futter wrote in response. It hooks into achievements and trophies. It has the right button icons. Cert and FQA are not about meeting quality bar. A quality bar.
Yeah, that makes sense. Otherwise, there would be no B games.
It's literally like, does it do what it says it's supposed to do, and that's it.
Yeah, is this? Yeah, this isn't Candy Crush that you just called it Cyberpunk, and when someone downloads it, it's just Candy Crush. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an interesting insight into that process, though.
This is a travesty.
It's really sad, and I feel bad for the developers too, who like probably work their asses off, right? And then this happens.
I don't think they should have given this thing a date.
It's really a situation where like nobody wins because the consumer loses out because it's a broken product on release. They lose out because, you know, now their reputation is tarnished for not putting this game out when it was ready. You know, PlayStation loses out because now the game has had such bad performance that people are going to refund it and PlayStation's going to lose money. It's probably bad for future business relations between Sony and CD Projekt Red. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, it feels like a situation where they couldn't win, you know? Like if they waited longer, then people would just be like, oh, this game's never going to come out. But if they, you know, release it early, then you get the situation we're currently in.
Actually, that raises a good question, Tim. So do you think if they had delayed it again, but they just say, you know what? Sorry, guys, like, we don't know when it's going to come out. We got to delay this thing. Like, this is not working. Do you think that there's a point in which people would give up on it? Or do you think that it would still, like, if they released it in a year, like they delay a whole year, do you think that it would have been a better situation should it have been released working?
I don't know. Do you think people have given up on Starfield?
That's a good point, honestly. Elder Scrolls 6.
Elder Scrolls 6. They've given nothing, and people are like, it's just, they know that it's there, right? So it's like, do you do the same thing with Cyberpunk, where people know that it's there and it's coming, but they don't know when? Like, honestly, I would have had a lot more faith in, you know, it's funny too, the irony is they started out looking like it was going to be a great project because that first teaser trailer from E3, like 2017 or whatever, 2016, 2017, said, you know, all they showed was like a couple of like basically still cinematics. And then it said Cyberpunk, it'll like coming when it's ready or something like that. And, you know, it clearly wasn't ready after all this time.
Oh man, it's rough. Like it's because I think they're getting too fired up. Like you're right. Like there's gonna be that fan base that's just like, well, I mean, like I'll wait for it. Like even if it comes out in 2025, like I'll just wait for it. Whereas, like now they can't go back. Now they can't say like, yeah, Cyberpunk was awesome. Like Cyberpunk released and it was great. Like a bad game is just bad now. Yeah. You know what I mean? They can fix it, but it's still tarnished. And how many people are now going to wait for it to go on sale? Probably me.
A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So let's talk a bit about Sony removing it from the PlayStation Store. They are offering refunds, I believe, to anyone. I don't know about anyone, but they are offering refunds, I think, greater than their previous refund program. And actually removed from the store, which is pretty crazy, I think. But we have a
first for a big game like this.
I think it's rare for a big game, at least. It might happen to smaller games or controversial games that make it through or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Wasn't Medal of Honor 2 like taken off store shelves just for being a bad game or something like that?
I don't remember that.
They recalled it or something.
I don't remember that.
So this is a post from Sony saying that SIE strives to ensure a high level of customer satisfaction. Therefore, we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased Cyberpunk 2077 via PlayStation Store. SIE will also be removing Cyberpunk 2077 from the PlayStation Store until further notice. Once we have confirmed that you purchased Cyberpunk 2077 via PlayStation Store, we will begin your processing your refund. Please note that completion of the refund may vary based on payment method and financial institution. And CD Projekt Red has responded to this, saying that they are hoping to bring back the game to the PlayStation Store as soon as possible. Now, maybe we'll take those 2 updates in February and January.
I was thinking too, is like this is so like I don't know if it's a first or whatever, but this is like a big event. Like, Sony isn't pulling Call of Duty off every year, every time they don't like an update or something, right? So like something getting pulled off the store. 76 didn't get pulled off the store. Like Fallout 76 did not get pulled off. I didn't even hear anything about it being threatened to be pulled off the store. And it had a whole bunch of controversies about collector's editions through the game itself and everything. So this is like this is bad. Like, this is really bad. And the thing is too, is now, like, take a good polished series, or a good polished game, I should say, because I guess the series is going through a transformation. The God of War. God of War was like really polished, really well done. I had like one axe glitch where it like got stuck somewhere or something. And I got like one glitch where like Atreus got stuck somewhere and then he like teleported beside me. But that was like, 2 times. Most games that are even considered good have well more glitches than that. But the point I'm making now is that if you were to go play God of War 2, you're looking for the quality now. You're not looking for whether you like it or whatever. You're looking for the quality. So God of War 2 has to release it like at a good quality margin.
Mm-hmm.
With Cyberpunk, let's say they fix it, it gets returned to the PlayStation Store, but big performance improvements, big glitch fixes. The game is like, effectively as polished as The Witcher. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I'm going to be looking for glitches now. I want to be like, oh, look, there's that glitch because this company doesn't know what they're doing, type of thing. Like, that's going to be more the mentality than if it had released really well and then there were some bugs and you're just like, oh, well, You know what I mean? Like, it's going to bring more attention to the bugs. It's going to make it a part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like 76. Like, 76 is, like, so clunky sometimes that, you just sort of be like, yep, sorry, I won't be able to switch my weapon because I'm, like, being attacked. Or, like, on, like, a classic one was when we were in nuke zones and the game had such bad, like, frame rate that it wouldn't, like, allow you to heal with a stim pack because the game couldn't, like, run the game and register that you clicked, take a stim pack button. So it just like became a part of the game. Like this, like the glitches and the bugs and everything are baked into this game the way that quality is baked into something like God of War.
Yeah, that's right. So apparently you can still buy the game physically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And this decision was made with PlayStation, so it wasn't just PlayStation closing the gates. I guess they kind of talked it out, and this is what they decided. Oddly enough, though, Xbox is also offering refunds, but they are not removing it from the store. I wonder what the decision making is there.
Maybe the Series X version is like, well, the one version on the Series X is just like totally fine, and so they just don't want to. Like, there's just no point in them taking it off the store.
Tim, where are you at with Cyberpunk? Do you have any interest in this at all? Like, were you interested beforehand?
Like, eventually. I never really watched much about it, and what I did see, I was kind of like, I'll play it probably at some point, but not right away. And then, on top of all this, it's just like, well, I have not a whole lot of motivation to change my stance,
That's right, yeah. Well, one thing that's sad about this too is like I don't know how you guys handle some games. Me, like more recently, I've been looking. I do this for movies too now. Is I look up less about them. So I used to like look up a game to the point where I knew exactly what I was getting into, and I even like maybe even knew how to play the first couple of levels or whatever. Like I would just like research a game a bunch and then buy it. But lately I've been, I do my research to a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm interested in this, but I want the game to sort of be a surprise. So like with Cyberpunk, I kind of watched the trailers at E3, but I never looked anything up about them after. Now with all
Right,
this
yeah.
controversy, now I know exactly what Cyberpunk looks like because I've watched people play it with all the weird bugs and texture popping and stuff. Whereas like that would have all been a surprise for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like so in your face that I'm like, because I was still going to ignore it. Like I was still going to not watch it and stuff. But I was like, no, I have to see this thing. Like this is like a big thing in the industry right now. Like I have to see what's wrong with this thing. Two Worlds, and I mean Two Worlds, the first one, has less texture pop in than Cyberpunk 2077.
Man, I loved watching I watched somebody play it a little bit at the very beginning of the game, and they're like, they did the Street Kid intro or whatever it's called, and they're in the underground parking lot where you're like stealing that car right at the very, very beginning. And then they start to hear like sirens going off, like cops are coming. And then they're just like looking up the way from where the car is parked, like towards the entrance where the cops are coming in. And then the cop cars just like warp from their position through cars and support pillars and walls and shit, and just go like right to where the car is supposed to be when the cars like pull up and stop, and then the cops get out. Like they just fucking teleported. Oh man, I was like, yep, that perfectly encapsulates the beginning of this game. That's just sets you up for what to expect.
Oh man, it's sad. And you have it, Ryan. Are you gonna do a refund? You're not gonna do a refund.
No, I'll just wait.
I mean, I suppose you're getting the PS5 upgrade is free, right?
I mean, yeah, and what difference does it make if I get a refund now and just buy it later? Like, I mean, it's just.
Well, here's a question for you. Then here's a question. So, you own the game, the PS4 version. You're saying you're gonna wait, but what would you do if, say, like, I don't know, PS5 version is gonna be next holiday season. I'm just throwing out random numbers here. Let's just say that gets delayed to next holiday season, and the patches for the PS4 version come out, early 2021, and it is revolutionary. Like it's a revolutionary fix. It's a revolutionary change to the game. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna actually wait for PS5?
No, I'm not definitive on waiting for the PS5 version, but I think I am going to wait at least for those 2 updates that they promised for January and February.
Right. How do they get out of this?
I think just time. I like, as long as they kind of, work through a lot of these issues, I think they'll be fine. Look at No Man's Sky, which also had a very rocky. Now that wasn't so much bug issues, so that was more.
It didn't have
overpromised and underdelivered.
Yeah, it didn't have features.
False advertising.
But if you look, he just won a game award for, was it best ongoing game?
Yeah, that was amazing.
Beating Fortnite,
which is crazy.
So I think you can recover, and I think they actually might have a better chance than No Man's Sky did, being a bigger studio. I think they just need time, and they just need to do kind of right by their fans and their customers.
I think just open communication and constant updating, letting people know where they're at with what and what to expect. I don't really think that they need to necessarily go out and say, oh, we feel bad about the launch, and so here's some free currency or a unique car or free body mod or et cetera, et cetera. I think they just kind of have to do what they can with what little loyalty I guess they have left, and just damage control. I think the outrage is a little overblown, as it usually is on social media, but I think once you get down to it and then the dust settles, I think people will kind of be okay with them. Yeah, people are also jumping on the bandwagon of just pitchforking,
down
right?
CD Projekt Red.
Yeah. This is the company that, before Cyberpunk came out, everyone was like, they're the greatest game company in the world. They made The Witcher 3, which is the best game ever made. And now they're like, let's burn them to the ground. Fuck them. And I want to kill their wives too.
Jesus. Freaking like a Frankenstein.
It's the mob mentality.
Mob.
It's literally just the pitchfork and torch mob.
Yeah, I suppose They could do no wrong, and now, I mean, not to join the, or like even people not joining the mob, I should say, are still gonna now have to watch their future purchases from CD Projekt Red. Like, I would be waiting and being like, is this gonna be buggy as hell? I'm gonna wait and see what happens.
It's almost like people should always be on the lookout before they buy something instead of just going in blindly.
Right, but I mean, like, CD Projekt Red had the reputation of not releasing garbage, at least. Like, it was like a safe bet, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be really interested to see what they do, because it's a really bad situation right now.
All right, let's move on to our next story here. So we've been following this Epic versus Apple fight for quite a bit here. It looks like things are ramping up because Tim Cook and Craig Federighi are about being called in to testify. This comes from Mac Rumors. So the court filing, first shared by iMore, says that Apple had already agreed to make Tim Cook a document custodian. Apple wanted a condition that would limit Tim Cook's deposition to 4 hours, but the court says that condition is not appropriate, as Epic will not be able to assess necessary deposition length until the full range of documents in the case are made available. Apple also wanted to have Eric Neuenschwander, I'm definitely not pronouncing that right, serve as a second document custodian instead of Craig Federighi, but the court has ruled that Federighi should be the one to testify in the dispute. Apple also must provide extensive documentation and data related to an App Store study conducted by Analysis Group that compared App Store with fees from other platforms. Apple had not been planning to share those documents under an attorney work product privilege, as Apple is also using an Analysis Group as an expert consultant. But the judge said Apple has to provide the information to Epic. First of all, I just want to say they named their company Analysis Group. I think that's pretty humorous.
I guess it's not like customer facing, right? Like they're not going consumer facing; they're like business facing.
Yeah, but I'm very interested in seeing how this turns out with Tim Cook, who's the CEO of Apple, and Craig Federighi, who is in charge of iOS and macOS software and stuff at Apple. So I think that'll be pretty fascinating.
This is kind of crazy because like those guys, like the Apple guys you're just talking about, they're sort of like, I don't know, I guess you could call them like tech celebrities. Like, you know, they're not movie stars, but like I even recognize who they are. Like if I saw them, I'd be like, what the hell? It's Tim Cook. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they're kind of like, you know, the people that you would figure would not be the ones to be brought in front of the court. Like to me, it's like they're the faces. And because they're being brought in, it's like, it just seems to add weight to the situation of being like, you know, this is a big fight. You know what I mean? Even though, you know, there's a fair bit of, like, we've had a discussion about it, whatever, and, like, Epic started it or whatever, right? Even though it seems to be leaning one side or the other, this is, like, you know, not a done deal fight. Like, this is a big fight.
And even in all of the, like, the Samsung battles with Apple and other big companies that have fought Apple, I don't know if Tim Cook's ever been called to testify for any of that. So this is pretty insane.
Yeah, like the only thing, and I don't really read the news too much, so like, you know, correct me if I'm wrong here, but like the only time I ever see these big CEOs get pulled into anywhere is usually into Congress for a chat. You know,
right? Where
like they called in, I was gonna say the CEO of Microsoft, but I don't know if that's right. But definitely like Sundar from I believe that's his name, the CEO of Google or Alphabet.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, the most recently, I don't think Microsoft was called into that one. But yeah, you're right. Google, Apple, Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, like that's when the big like faces / the tech celebrities, that's when they get called in, and it's usually like you know talking to Congress is a big thing, highly televised, video cameras everywhere. You know, you're talking to leaders, whatever. Then now it's like, oh, I didn't want to like pay the 30%, so bring your top man.
I love watching the testimonies in Congress. I love it because it's one of the few times when you see adults being like yelled at and disciplined as if they're children. Jesus. You know what I mean? It's just so fun to watch. Even though it's like not much ever really comes from it, you know, sometimes things do, but it's just kind of it's just the politics game, right? But But I just really enjoy that.
You must watch boring TV then.
What? What?
if that's the standard for you.
I'm not saying I can't get excitement elsewhere. I'm just saying
I mean,
enjoy that.
you watch like all the debates of politicians, like, and you watch the election, not the U.S. election, the Canadian.
But
wasn't it like the Canadian party leader election? Didn't you watch that? So it wasn't even like an election for prime minister. They were like deciding who was going to lead the party. Didn't you? I think you said one time you watched that election.
Maybe for Trudeau.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. I'm asking. Yeah.
Not for the Ontario Liberals or anything like that.
Oh, okay. I thought it was for Ontario.
No. No, that kind of one just happened and I didn't even know, actually.
It's important to take an interest in your local politics, Matthew.
I'm not. I can't read the news. It's too much.
You can't read the news. I can't know what's going on in the world.
I refuse.
Something that really makes me angry, though, is like injustice, right? And when you have people like that Martin Shkreli guy, who was like jacking up the price of drugs and stuff, just to see him get yelled at for once, makes me feel really good. So that's where I get the entertainment value out of it.
I mean, I got like a little bit of entertainment value out of I think it was, I can't remember. No, it wasn't. No, okay. So it was the Google one. So I think his name is Sundar. I think Sundar was like, in the hot seat, whatever, talking to Congress. And some guy asked about an iPhone, and he's like, I don't make iPhones or whatever. Like, I'm paraphrasing. He's like, I don't make iPhones. Like, you'd have to contact Apple Corporation. He's like, well, yes or no, sir? It's like, I don't, that's not our product. Like, I can't help you with that. Like, because wasn't it something like, is this iPhone tracking my location or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And he's just like, I don't know. Like, I don't make that. Like,
well, I saw a breakdown of like who makes up Congress and whatnot, and a lot of it is the boomers, right? And they're not the best at technology, and so it sometimes can be embarrassing watching them, interrogate these really smart CEOs and stuff, right?
Like asking questions about like how, like, I just remember the Zuckerberg Congress meeting where like they're asking him about Facebook tracking their information and stuff like that, and he's like, does Facebook know like where I am? Is it sending my information to people? And he's like, well, if you put the information in there, then yes, but not if you don't. And he's like, as it doesn't know how to get my information. And he's like, I mean, again, it knows what you tell it. Like, it's like basically trying to explain basic internet security to someone who has no idea how the fucking computer works. It's like, why are these the people that are in charge of decision making for this?
Yeah, this is like, it's a really good point. Like, most recently I've been trying to teach my mom how to use tabs in a browser, and she has no idea what's going on. Like, she's like, I just go to the internet. I'm like, right. But if you needed to go to the internet twice, you could open a tab and have two windows, like one you work in and one you have like your email in or whatever. And it's just like, it's just not second nature to them, right? Like, it's just a generational thing, whatever. Because it wasn't second nature to us. It's not like when tabs came out, we were all just using them. It took a couple of years, and then we were like, yeah, tabs are great, whatever. I can play my music and have something else on, or I can play my music in one tab and read in the next.
I still only ever have like maximum 4 tabs open at once.
I'm pretty clean on my tabs as well. Like maybe 10 for me at work or something. But Mike has usually 98. That's not a joke, or more.
That is
And
absolutely insane.
It's absolutely ludicrous.
That's not even workable.
That's correct.
Does he use Chrome?
Yes, but he has a special thing called like tab suspender that like turns the tabs off.
Well, then there's no point in having the tab then.
That's what I told him. Is I was like, maybe you should just close it. Like, and one thing I will say, like, people use tabs differently. Like on my mobile phone, like some people on my like smartphone specifically, not on my tablet to be clear, for whatever reason, I use tabs as like bookmarks because getting to the bookmarks menu is clunky. So like I just have like 50 tabs open, but like most of them are just bookmarks. And if I'm like, oh, something's going wrong with the PSN, I have like a PSN status page tab. I just like open my tabs and click on that. But like, so like I guess it's just like a workflow thing. But like the thing is though, is like we are at a level with technology where we've been exposed to it so much that we can have these complex discussions about workflows. Whereas like somebody in that generation, if like to them, it's just sort of like, well, if you told them to do a research project, something really basic, first thing they're doing is going to the library. First thing I'm doing is pulling up my phone. right? It's just like, what are they grabbing for? Like, they don't think about, oh, I'd better go to the internet and look this up. So, and they don't know what's big either. Like, I think my dad one day was like, I've been using that YouTube or whatever. And I'm like, okay, what are you watching? And he's like, oh, like I watch, like, I think he was watching like ATV videos. And I was like, oh. And he's like, yeah. He's like, do you use YouTube? Like, he has no idea that it's big, right? Like, he has no idea that that's like the de facto video service. But like,
my dad understood YouTube, but not the fact that like literally everybody uses it, and like you can go on there and you can find videos about literally anything, and that there's just so much content on there that you could never ever go through all of it.
Yeah, like they're using it at like face value. They're not using it as like they understand what's going on in the background.
They understand YouTube the way that I understand most like new things that I don't use, like TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that.
And that goes with anything too. Like, I don't know anything about cars, you know. So like me, I just like drive around, like, oh, and then something happens, I call a mechanic. Whereas like my dad would be like, oh, like the alternator went. I'll be like, huh? Like what?
Well, that's what I've always thought that too, because people think like, oh, we'll get old and not care about technology either. But we grew up like just surrounded by technology, and so I feel like going forward, we're already trained on how to adapt to technology, whereas our parents and grandparents weren't, right?
But there is enough of a like even now I'm already noticing like I don't have enough time and like attention span to be able to be on like every social media. I can't do it. And like I think that's going to be the difference, whereas they're like the older generations don't know as much about the base technology. I'm just not going to have as much knowledge on the individual software because there's just going to be so much of it.
That's a really good point, actually. Because I like me personally, I mean, I have Snapchat. People send me stuff on there, and I don't answer for days. And they're like, what's going on? Like, why are you ignoring me or whatever? And I'll be like, no, man. Like, I just don't open Snapchat. Like, it's not a place I ever look. Like, I never think of opening. It's not something where I'm like, oh, better check the old Snapchat. It's only because I noticed the little badge icon and be like, oh, damn, someone sent me something.
Like, the only things that I check are like basically Reddit and Discord and Twitter. And Reddit is not, to go on there and look at the content that people that I follow or anything are making, right? Like I'm just checking out different subreddits that I think are relevant to me. And then with like Twitter, that's where I would go for content for a certain person that I'm following. But then for Discord, like that's the stuff, that's like the notifications that I'm always checking to see like what people are up to, what they're doing, like what the different communities that I'm in are up to, or what's going on today for these people. And that's the one that I always like think first to check, like if I'm looking for like just something to kill time while I'm on my phone or whatever.
Yeah.
I always go to Discord first so I can see like what conversations are happening with what friend group or whatever, or community. And Kayla like almost never ever uses Discord. Like she's in a couple with me just because we have like a D&D group, or she's in my Discord, or she's in a Discord with this other group of friends or whatever, and they all just basically function as like group chats with a whole lot more features when you really boil it down. But it's the first thing that I think of when I go to check something as far as like social media. She never thinks to go on Discord ever. And so like if people tag her and stuff, or they are asking her questions because they're like me and they just assume everyone's like always checking Discord, they'll ask her a question and then I'll have to like go to her and I'll be like, hey, this person was like asking you about this thing, but they didn't tag you. She's like, oh, well, how was I supposed to know? And it's like, well, yeah, how are you supposed to know when you're not like us where we just always are checking Discord?
Yeah, it's like what tool are you reaching for? Like she's reaching for in terms of messaging, like SMS or WhatsApp or whatever. She's not reaching for Discord, whereas like a lot of us are reaching for Discord on the regular.
Yeah, it's really interesting, even within our own generation, to see like what people go for first.
I saw a couple people actually. I met a couple people that only use Snapchat, like to talk.
Yeah, when I was going to school a couple of years ago, like everybody that I associated with, and most were younger than me, to be fair, so that probably had something to do with it. But most of the people that I associated with, they were all primarily using Snapchat, which I found really interesting. And like by extension, I got into it as well. But as soon as I like wasn't really associating with those people anymore, I just completely stopped using it.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's just too much out there at this point.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you can't be reaching for, like, I'm not reaching for Slack every day. You know, there's God knows how many other ones, Viber or fucking whatever else for chatting. And that's just for chatting. Like, there's probably like a bunch of apps like Instagram. Oh, obviously not as popular, but a bunch of them that like post pictures or whatever. And like, I'm not reaching for all of them. None of us are, so. I forget what the original story was as well, what we were talking about.
It was Apple versus Epic.
What a tangent.
All
Jesus.
right. Let's move on to our final story for the week. The Game Awards almost doubled last year's viewership. This comes from GameSpot. Receiving over 83 million live streams last week, the annual award show increased 2019's 5.2 million live streams by over 83% globally. 83%. Globally, 8.3 million viewers tuned in at peak time, an increase from 2019's 7.5 million viewers. According to Stream Hatchet, live hours watched increased more than 129% across Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Gaming. Over 2.63 million concurrent viewers tuned in at peak time on Twitch, doubling 2019's numbers. The number of YouTube viewers also reportedly doubled, but with numbers were not disclosed. I wonder why those weren't disclosed. Maybe just an oversight, or
maybe not tracked or something.
So Jeff Keighley said, in this most challenging of years, the video game industry has continued to deliver for its fans. We are deeply humbled to see that the excitement translate into these record-setting results, with significant upticks in total viewership, watch time, and social engagement around the world. Jeff Keighley, if you don't know, produces the Game Awards and hosts.
Makes sense, right? Like, everyone's got more time, and not only
that though, they also show it in more locations like every year. They had 9,000 co-streams, I think, on Twitch or something like that.
There you go.
So he's just finding ways to increase the amount of eyes that watch the show.
Didn't they add a bunch of accessibility things as well?
Not to my knowledge, but I would imagine they did.
Just with the way that the first half of the year went, so many more people being exposed to things like streaming on YouTube and Twitch, and even video games in general. I'm sure the whole video game industry as a whole has increased because people who maybe felt like they didn't have time for games before, thought, oh, well, I'm going to be off work for 3 months. Maybe I'll finally get around to buying a PlayStation and see what the hype is all about. Maybe I can play, Call of Duty with some friends. Mm-hmm. And now they're in it,
Yeah. What's nice about this too is the more viewership he can like quote, the more that game companies and publishers and stuff will want to use it as a platform to promote their games.
Yeah.
Right. So it kind of keeps growing and growing in that sense.
Well, last year was huge with the Xbox.
That was a big get, yeah.
And that was right away too. I remember we were watching it. We're like, "What genre is this?" Because it was like showing jungles and all this other crap. And then I was like,
right, yeah.
"I'm like, is this a fucking console commercial?" And then it was fucking the new console.
I think that's all we got.
I mean, well, I'll say one thing actually about the Game Awards is like, it's actually something that I legitimately look forward to. And like the first year was rough, to be fair. Like it went on for a damn long time.
I remember, what was that, back in 2014, was it?
Something like that. And I remember falling asleep, and all of us were like, "Holy Christ! Like this show is just not going to end." It's just the pacing was bad, and like it's a first year.
And was that the Joel McHale one?
I honestly can't remember that.
There was a weird transition time between like the Spike Game Awards, whatever the hell those were, to then Jeff Keighley's own Game Awards.
Yeah, there was the Spike VGAs, and then like Canada had their own VGAs too, like not during it, but like presented by Future Shop. RIP.
I think they still have that, right?
I don't know if they do. But I tried to watch it once, and it was not. I didn't like it, so
it definitely wasn't as polished.
Not as polished, and it very much was like it looked like they just sort of got a studio in, or like a stage in like a
Ubisoft
hotel.
games.
Yeah, and they just
too.
like sort of like went to a little podium and talked, and that was it. It wasn't as like polished and whatever. But no, yeah, I think the Game Awards is like really improved, and I think like the amount of work that Jeff puts into it like is paying off
Incredible.
at this point. Yeah, it's really good. It's a really good show. Now here's a question: do you think that the Game Awards is going to suffer like E3, where like for example Sony's like, we don't want to abide by E3's schedule?
No, because this is usually post E3 and kind of closer to the holidays, you know? I think it might just always work out that they'll want to promote something during this time.
Right.
And it's not like it's a whole deal either. It's not like you got to go set up a booth and all that stuff and have all these demos and get the press to play it. And, you know, it's just another avenue for them to take.
I guess you can like pretty well just send them a video file.
Yeah.
However that works, and then be like, here you go, bud. Yeah,
also, Back for Blood was shown off at the Game Awards, and that game looks really good. I watched a little pre-alpha video they showed. It looks pretty fun.
Oh, is there more footage on that?
Yeah, you can probably find it maybe on their YouTube channel or something. IGN streamed it. I'm not sure if it was a IGN exclusive stream or what, but you can probably find that.
The pre-alpha is out now or something, right? I think there's some people streaming it.
You can get into it somehow, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of my friends have been talking about it and wanted to play it, and they keep mentioning to me that it's a game we should all play, and I have been meaning to look into it, and I keep fucking forgetting.
It's just because Left 4 Dead 3 was delayed effectively for so long that it's just not it's just not something we think of anymore.
Yeah.
Also, we've been playing zombie games for like 3 months on stream, so so that helps too. That helps you forget or not reach for it. So
yeah. All right, that's all we got. Thanks for listening. Tim, you're streaming the Hades at twitch.tv/YeahThatFigures.
Not so much. Mostly it's going to be Yakuza for now, but yeah, maybe Hades every once in a while. And then yeah, you guys and me sometimes are playing a never-ending series of zombie games on twitch.tv/DayOnePatchMedia.
Hell yeah.
Be sure to click follow and turn those notifications on. Or don't. I don't know. I'm not your mom.
What?
Or am I?
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Wow.
Peace.